Now, martial law, what do you understand by that? Basically, it's leadership under the army, or what would happen like in Africa or in some other states is what we call a coup when the army takes over. However, now the martial law is being applied in South Korea by the president. He declared martial law yesterday, and also by the end of the day, the martial law was cut off, or it came to an end because of the results that happened after that. So the South Korea president, Yoon Suk Yeol, declared martial law, and the reason he gave is that he wants to safeguard a liberal South Korea from the threats posed by North Korea, communist forces, and to eliminate anti-state elements that are plundering the people's freedom and happiness. And that is was the reason as to why he declared an emergency, a state of emergency on martial law. Very interesting address he made. So he did not give details of the North Korea's threats, but the South remains technically at war with nuclear-armed Pyongyang, which is the capital of South Korea. So the besieged president of South Korea, who's now become unpopular, declares a state of emergency and martial law. Then he bans protests at the same time and censors the media. Parliament decides, no way, we are not taking this for anything. This is unacceptable. This is South Korea, and what we believe in, this is not happening. So what do? Parliament decides, we're not going to do this. They get in Parliament, they reject the decree and vote to restore the constitutional order by 190-0. Basically, everyone there in that Parliament decided, we are for the people, we are standing for the people, we don't care what the president likes. We're standing for the people and for what the reason they took us to Parliament, and voted 190-0. So after that, I think the president looked at it and is like, next step is an impeachment that shall come. So he decides to do, before he decides to do that, after his declaration, what happens is the army storms Parliament to arrest MPs. But the citizens decide, these are our representatives. You can't just decide that now that you're the army, you're not going to storm Parliament to now arrest our MPs. The people also come out and decide, you know what, we're not taking this shit, And what do? They stormed the streets and protested to block the army. It was very short, it was a few hours, but there was a lot that happened. So people basically started fighting with the army and telling them, it is our nation, it is what we want, it is what we stand for, and we shall not allow you as people who are supposed to safeguard the nation against external enemies to make us people your enemies. So what are we doing? We refuse that. So after that, what happens? The army, after seeing how the public or the citizens of South Korea reacted, decides, you know what? We will withdraw. So the army withdraws from the streets and everywhere, and the president is now forced to call off the martial law order. Simply because he looked at it and he's like, any person looking at it will see where that ends. I mean, if the army is not on your side and the people are not on your side, basically, nobody wants you. That's the message that Yoon, I hope that name, that's how it's pronounced properly. Nobody wants Yoon in leadership. Basically, that's the message. So martial law basically involves the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule and is usually invoked in time of war. I don't think South Korea is really like in a time of war to warrant that. Rebellion, probably now it's because the people are rebelling against the president, and the MPs have also decided, you know what, we are for the people. The opposition party has a bigger number in parliament than the ruling party. Or even when there's a natural disaster, that's when it would be applied. So a few hours later, now after this story of army deciding we are done off the streets, what happens? The representatives for the 6 opposition parties, including the main Democratic Party, which is the key opposition party, have decided, you know what, now we're going for impeachment. And what they say, they want to put it to a vote, but it could come as soon. This will come as today is on Wednesday. This is expected to come as soon as Friday. So earlier on Wednesday, Yoon faced calls to quit immediately or face impeachment after an attempt to bring the martial law. So the martial law has triggered protests and political condemnation, and now the opposition has decided, we're taking this up, let's get to an impeachment. So everyone is all eyes on South Korea to see if indeed between today and Friday that vote comes in parliament. I mean, if it comes, it's going to go through the courts now, the judges to decide. But that's as far as it goes for now. So the martial law triggered a lot of condemnation across, not just in South Korea, even in the US. And of course, for US, it's because they have bases in South Korea and they work with the military there. So it was something that they say came to them very unexpected. They did not see it coming, sort of. I don't understand why. But it's something interesting to watch. And you know, the opposition holds the majority of the MPs. They have around 300 seats in parliament. And it has said that its lawmakers has decided to call on Yoon to step down straight away, or they will take the steps to impeach him. So the Democratic Party also said the President Yoon martial law declaration was a clear violation of the Constitution, and it didn't abide by any requirements to declare it. Basically, there was nothing that was happening that they feel required or warranted the declaration of this law. So they termed it as invalid and a grave violation of the Constitution, and it was a grave act of rebellion and provides perfect grounds for his impeachment. I am sort of convinced these MPs will actually get this guy out of power. I have a feeling, unless the judges save him, it goes. And remember, he actually, before he became president, he sat in a panel to send away the former president in 2017, I think. So he might be in a position to face a similar charges of what went with the former president, although the former president case was on corruption. So Yoon's shock bid to impose South Korea's first state of martial law, this is in over 4 decades. Like, it's not happened, I think, since it's four decades. That's around 40 years. So imagine in 40 years they have not experienced this. Then, you know, of course, the population has changed. So the people who it happened when they were young, they are older, and there is a younger generation in between. So the young generation across the world is basically saying, these things are not happening, and they will not allow to be governed in ways they don't like. So the country back then, this was the deepest turmoil in its modern democratic history, and it caught its close allies around the world off guard. So the US has a station which has nearly 30,000 troops in South Korea, and basically they worked together to protect it from the nuclear-armed North Korea. Remember, North Korea is an ally of Russia. South Korea is an ally of the US. So basically, these people have been having soldiers from the US. So they voiced a deep concern at the declaration. Then there was relief. They say they were really relieved once the martial law order was lifted. The Pentagon spokesperson, Major General Patrick, told a news briefing that he did not believe the martial law declaration had any significant impact so far on the US troops, and that some of whom work in combined commands with the Southern Korea military. Basically, he's just dismissing and saying there's nothing to worry about for the US. Of course, it's the US. The US would never place themselves in a place where they're, we're worried this is happening. How else as a superpower would you shine if you get to that position, So the martial law declaration also cast doubt on a possible visit next week by the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who's supposed to visit South Korea. So with that martial law and the events that happened after, there's a lot of questions. I'm sure even the U.S. is working towards now thinking about their relationships, because all this is politics. So they are really thinking hard about the politics around this. So the dramatic developments have left the future of Yoon, who's a conservative politician and a former in fact, he was a star public prosecutor, in serious jeopardy, because now everyone is watching him, and chances are that he may go home. That's chances are that. So the main opposition party, whose lawmakers jumped fences and tussled with security forces, said they could overturn the law, and of course that they are working towards an impeachment. And if this is to happen, this will be the end of President Yoon, unfortunately or fortunately, but it depends. Whatever South Koreans feel is good for them, absolutely the citizens deserve what they feel is good. And citizens always know what is good for them. So I hope you have an understanding of what it is that has been in maybe in the last 10 hours of South Korea, what has happened. You have an understanding of some sort, and we will keep our eye on this story between today, tomorrow, and maybe on Friday. And in case an impeachment happens, we shall be here to talk about it also, because this is geopolitics 411, yeah? And thanks for watching. We will catch you on the next episode. Share your comments, by the way, in the comment section, what you feel about this whole happenings in South Korea. And as Africans, I hope we are watching what good parliamentarians do for the people, yeah? You elect people to represent you, not just to go and, flow with the wave. MPs are supposed to represent the people. Please, the world, we are watching. Everyone basically is watching what is happening, yeah? See you on the next episode.